All right, here we go, guys. A few months back, I posted a video going over my first boat ever, a 21-foot T-Craft that promptly sunk a few months after I bought it. That boat was actually the first of the 7 boats that I've owned in my lifetime. And today I want to go over boat number 4 in my ownership history, a North Carolina built Maycraft 23 Pilothouse with a Honda 225 4-stroke. And I bought this boat new back in 2009 for $40,000. And yeah, I did not mispronounce that. Brand new boat, $40,000. And I had some amazing fishing trips and some great times in the 4 years that I owned this boat. And the reason I really wanted to do a video about this boat is because I think the North Carolina style of boats, and there are quite a few under the radar manufacturers out there, all in North Carolina, and all that have similar features, meaning very sharp entries and shallow dead rise, and they're very affordable. And they are, in my opinion, the most overlooked and underappreciated brand of boats out there. But first, let's take a closer look at my old boat again. And again, it was $40,000 with a 225 Honda 4-stroke and a trailer, all bought brand new in 2009. The boat was actually 22 and a half feet long, and it had a very narrow 8-foot beam. It was only 10 degrees of dead rise in the stern, which meant unless you used the trim tabs liberally, it would pound in any type of a head seat. And it also did not help with the pounding that the driving position, because it was a pilot house, was forward. And those of you that have sat in the front of a center console, even in moderate seas, will know what I'm talking about. It can get very rough, poundy. It'll feel like the boat's not really riding that well. Meanwhile, if you go back 10 feet in the boat behind the console or even the driver's position, a lot of that goes away. And that's one of the trade offs with a pilot house. You're driving in a very forward position. Now, this doesn't mean that I didn't take this boat into the ocean. I did. We'll see a couple pictures of that here out in Montauk. And this boat actually made that 35-mile run from Greenport on the North Fork of Long Island to the south side of Montauk many, many times. And I caught many big bass and many big fluke on it. But you did feel a lot of the waves when you were riding out in the ocean. Again, the trade off is a rough ride. And really, boats are all about compromises. And in the case of the Maycraft, the rough ride was offset by a number of other really good benefits. The shallow dead rise, that 10-degree V in the back, and the narrow beam meant it did not really use a lot of fuel, nor did it need a lot of power to plane off. The 225 was actually overkill on it. A lot of these 23 Maycrafts, even the pilot houses, came stock from the factory with 150 horsepower. And it was not atypical for me to see 3 to 4 miles per gallon at cruise. And with an 88-gallon tank, that's what the 23 Maycraft had standard, and a very fuel-efficient Honda 4-stroke, I went a lot of trips before I had to refuel. And also the pilot house. And these boats are not that popular anymore. Fewer and fewer manufacturers are making them. But that pilot house offered a lot of protection. And I have one video shot on I believe, Nokia cell phone back in 2009 of me coming back with my friend George one day in a sudden summer thunderstorm. And we'll take a look at that video now. And you can see it was crazy as heck out there. And it was a following sea, which this boat rode better in than a head sea. It did not tend to pound that much in a following sea. But you can see the conditions were just absolutely horrific on this day. But we did not get a drop of rain on us. We didn't get wet. And we felt somewhat safe and protected in the pilot house. The low price also allowed me to add options over the years. I did not buy the boat with every available option. For example, I did not have a windlass on the boat in the early years, or the first year or two. Instead, I had this egg crate carton in the front with the anchor inside, and one of the first early options that I added. Again, it was either the second year of ownership, maybe the third, was a windlass. I also added a nice set of rocket launchers to the back of the boat. The boat did not come with rocket launchers. And interesting story, when I wanted to add the rocket launchers, I want to say they were about $495. I called Maycraft. I actually got Ken May, the owner of the company, on the phone, explained to him what I was looking for, and he promptly shipped me the rocket launchers without me paying for them. Didn't leave a credit card number. It was all on goodwill. He sent them to me. He said he'd have an invoice, with the rocket launchers, and sure enough, he did. I got them. I wrote a check, installed them, threw bolted them, and there you go. I had my rocket launchers, and I really love this boat. I owned it for 4 years, which is the longest I've ever owned a boat. I'm on year three now. I just finished year three with my CV, and I will have it for 2022, so that'll be the fourth year with that boat. I am scheduled to have an eastward catamaran built sometime in 2023, so it looks like the CV will at least tie this boat. But I did wind up upgrading in 2013 to a 29 Everglades, and the reason for that is I started doing more and more runs to Montauk, and while this boat was fantastic, it was not really a boat you want to take to the ocean every day. So the 29 Everglades was another great boat. I'll do a video about that boat in the future. But sticking to the story of the 23 Maycraft, we're going to go back to the price. Yes, the price is going to be a prevailing theme on this one. And again, it was 40,000 brand new with a trailer, with a 225 Honda four-stroke on it, which equates in 2009 to 52,000 in 2021 dollars. And with the price of new and used boats seemingly out of control, there are many of these North Carolina new boats that are out there that seemingly fly under the radar. And you can actually find a brand new, again, I'm going to call them under the radar brand of boat that is much cheaper than a used big name boat, like a Grady White, a Boston Whaler, Cobia Pursuit. And I'm talking about brands, not just Maycraft, but brands like Seahawk, Pear Marine, Privateer. You can get a new boat built for a lot cheaper than what a comparable size used mid-tier to upper-tier brand will cost. But again, they all seem to share. Pear Marine does have a deep V model, but the other brands I mentioned, Seahawk, Privateer, Maycraft, they all have that same style, which is a very deep, sharp entry. And then it tapers off in the back where you have a relatively flat transom dead rise, which, as I explained with my Maycraft, means you can get away with less power. You're going to be more fuel efficient. You're certainly going to burn less gas. You're not really having to power the boat, a very steep dead rise boat to get it out of the water. But the trade-off is the ride in a head sea is just not quite the same as it is with a deep V boat. And we're going to show some examples now of some of these brand new model boats built in North Carolina. I'm going to show two Seahawks here that really are brand new with decently optioned that are cheaper than used boats. And the first one we're going to look at is a 2022 25-foot center console Seahawk. You see it here up on the screen. See a black motor on it. That's actually a Tohatsu 250 horsepower four-stroke. There's a nice shot of the Tohatsu. And for those that don't know, the Tohatsu is a rebadged Honda. So ostensibly, you are getting a Honda 250 four-stroke. You can see this boat is a three-piece hull. It's not a two-piece hull. Very basic layout. Nothing fancy, but a lot of boat for 66 grand. I mean, and it includes a trailer. That's the crazy thing. And it's a big 25. It's 9.5 feet wide. Again, brand new four-stroke power, trailer. It is, and a Simrad screen comes with it for $66K. That's just almost unimaginable in 2021 that you get a boat like that. Now look, it's 12 degrees, right? So it's not a deep V. And it's certainly not going to be finished as nice as a Pursuit, a Grady. But think about that Grady that I showed. If anybody saw, earlier in the year, I did a comparison of 25-footers at the Stewart Boat Show in Stewart, Florida. The 25 Grady, which is a much smaller boat than this, was $176,000. This is literally $110,000 cheaper than that Grady. And if you want to go a little bigger, Seahawk also has a 29-foot CC, again, a 2022 model. Same dealer down in Florida, available for just under 116,000. And again, this is a 29-foot boat, twin 250 Tohatsus, rebadged Hondas. Comes with Simrad electronics. It's 10.5 feet wide, three-piece hull, 15 degrees of dead rise, so a little more V in the back than the 25 we just saw, but still not what's considered a deep V. It's still considered a modified V. But in 2021 dollars, Seahawk, again, very similar company to Maycraft, to Privateer, to Pear Marine, to these really small North Carolina built boats where you're not going to get fancy material. They still use wood. That's another thing that I'm sure some folks will comment on. Oh, but it's not all, they use wood. Who uses wood in 2021? Well, wood was used for years, and as long as it's treated correctly, you should not have any issues. Now, would I not prefer a boat that didn't have wood? Of course, but I own two Maycrafts. I also owned a 19-footer before that 23 that I showed. I never had an issue. And again, if wood is treated correctly, and these guys know what they're doing, North Carolina, for those of you that don't know, for years was the furniture capital of the U.S. They know their wood in North Carolina. As long as it's treated correctly, you should not have an issue. And again, going back to my Maycraft, very underrated boat. For somebody looking to get into boating and not wanting to spend six figures on a boat that you can take out in the bays, take out in the sounds, occasional runs into the ocean, you'll be hard-pressed to find better values than boats like Maycraft, boats like Seahawk, boats like Pear Marine, boats like Privateer, built the old-fashioned way, but built right, and can be had for, honestly, half the retail value, if not more, of the mid-tier brands and upper-tier brands. Let me know what you thought of this video. Hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you do like these videos, hit that like button. And if you're not already a subscriber and you like content like this, please consider subscribing.